It is time for Say What? Oh, look, there's former Patriots quarterback Drew Bledsoe and current Celtic Terry Rozier. They've struck up a friendship this postseason. It all started when Rozier wore Bledsoe's jersey to troll his opponent Eric Bledsoe. Well, apparently Drew was inspired by all this. Say what?
If I established anything over the course of my career, I could take a hit. But tonight, man, kind of got the blood flowing again. You know, kind of got me fired up. I want to go. Give me a football, man. Put me in for a quarter. I may not give you a whole game, but I can give you a quarter.
If he can give us a quarter, CC, come on.
Well, the wide receiver's guaranteed to get hit. The quarterback could play a quarter without getting hit. And I bet Bledsoe can still sling it.
Yeah, also, Drew Bledsoe, you are the beginning of history. Mo Lewis hit you on the field, knocked you under the bench, and then Tom Brady emerged as the superhero. Yeah. All right, so I wouldn't be talking about trying to go back on the play any football.
And real quick, on Terry Rozier's T-shirt, so his nickname's Scary Terry, it's why he's wearing the Scream mask, but it's now a variation of the T-shirt. You can barely see it here, but there's confetti all over this T-shirt. The Sixers colored confetti that the guy, because they prematurely shot out the cannon, so he's done a good job.
Drew Bledsoe, what he's known for now is not quarterbacking the Patriots. He's known for his fine wine. Right? That's what, Drew, send us some wine.
Did you hear what he said he might make at his vineyard? A Terry Rosé in honor of Terry Rozier?
Oh, I like that.
That's what he said at the end of the press conference.
Yeah, we'll see what he says in
But shout out Terry for the smart T-shirts he's been
and those are some cool shades by him as well.
Yeah,
I like that whole
setup. I told you about people wearing shades at night.
What?
Indoors.
I told you about people wearing shades at night.
Weren't you wearing sunglasses when you met your
Indoors,
friends, Sarah?
yeah, absolutely. Wearing sunglasses indoors at the Whole Foods.
Okay. So
I know it was during the day, blah, 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 blah.
I kind of have a little image, though.
Oh, so
you're
is
talking
Terry
about people
Rozier.
All right.
No, not at 10.
Time for some stories to start your morning. There's Tiger Woods. He tees off at 1:52 today. The TPC, the Players' Championship. What a group he's in. He's playing alongside Phil Mickelson and Ricky Fowler. Chris, let's dive into your wheelhouse. What do you expect from Tiger in golf's fifth major?
Not what I expect from Tiger. Tiger better shoot 4 or 5 under par, because with the depth that we have on tour now, you can't get too far behind these players. Tiger, you can't shoot 1 under, 2 under, even par the first round. Somebody gonna go out there and shoot a 66. Somebody might shoot a 65. Like Tiger, the weather in Jacksonville, where TPC, where it's played, great. It's going to be 80-something degrees. It means a lot of birdies. Ball going to be flying, distance. So his driving has been good. Let's get back to old Tiger making some putts. If he makes putts, he can be in contention. I still think he's about a month, 6 weeks away from winning, getting back in the winner's circle.
He was awful with the putter in the last tournament. He needs to be better here. I just hope he scores better than Phil Mickelson. That's what I'm rooting for before we get to the weekend. I hope he beats Phil Mickelson. I think it'll be fun to watch them play together.
Okay, on to the NFL. Kurt Warner is already in the Hall of Fame, but apparently he thought about making a comeback for the upcoming season. Warner said he was in discussions with an NFL coach. The team went out and signed somebody else. CC, could the 46-year-old Warner actually have still played some football?
Nope. Absolutely not.
Why not?
There's a thing called contact, and there's a thing called avoiding contact, all right? It's hard enough when you're young to avoid contact, let alone when you get old. And you get older, your body is not meant to be hit by a young NFL player. And that right there would send Kurt Warner. And let me tell you something, what the Hall of Fame should do, if Kurt Warner goes back on the field, we're going to hold his Hall of Fame jacket.
Rescind it?
No, we're just going to hold it until because he's not going to look like a Hall of Famer when he's on the field.
Man, and I watched Kurt Warner. People think of him as a Ram and then as a Cardinal. What we're not showing in this compilation are the highlights with the Giants when that contact came and got him. Yeah. He's not a guy that would deal with that contact that well at 36, much less 46.
According to reports, wide receiver Brandon Marshall is meeting with the Seahawks today. Marshall was released by the Giants last month after an injury-plagued season. CC, can a 34-year-old Brandon Marshall still make an impact in the NFL?
Yes, he can. Brandon's one of the best conditioned athletes that you'll ever see. He loves training, loves working out, is really committed to taking care of his body. He didn't like, and talking to him this offseason, he didn't like the way things ended with the Giants. He really thought coming there as a number 2 opposite of OBJ, but got injured early. OBJ got injured. They had an awful season. Yes, I believe he can make a contribution at 34. What I'm surprised at with Seattle is that
they bring him in and not Dez?
Yeah, not even give him a look, not even an interview. That's very surprising.
And it also shows the rehabilitation Brandon Marshall's done of his image and of his mental health. Yeah. As opposed to, if you consider our locker room, which they're trying to tear down and rebuild in Seattle, we can handle Brandon Marshall. He might actually be an asset to the locker room, and we don't even want to look at 5-year younger Dez Bryant.
Crazy.
That's an indictment on him as well.
All right, finally, the Paul George sweepstakes is just getting underway. One potential landing spot could be the team who traded him away last season, the Indiana Pacers. Wouldn't that be something? But their GM couched it, saying that it would, quote, depend on the fit. Nick, where do you think PG-13 will eventually land?
But before I answer that, can I just talk? Because I don't think he's going to go to the Pacers, but I do want to say this. I think it'd be a great fit. I think that'd be remarkable for them. If they are able to basically loan him out to Oklahoma City for a year, get Victor Oladipo back, have Oladipo turn into that type of player. Our friend Chris Mannix has told you Paul George is a small city guy. He likes fishing. He likes more of a quiet life than you maybe would assume. So Indiana and Oklahoma City have fit his personality. So I think it'd be great for the Pacers if they could get him back. But I think he's going to Los Angeles. I think along with him will be one of the 6 best players in the league, maybe one of the 1 best players in the league in LeBron James. But I think that's where he's going. I think that's what Magic's been building towards. I think sometimes when there's smoke, there's not fire. But sometimes when there's been billowing smoke for months and months and months, it's because there's a fire. There's been a lot of smoke surrounding Paul George and the Lakers for quite some time.
And also there's been a lot of questions coming out of Indianapolis. Would they want Paul George back? When you even hear the general manager in his quotes, he talked about that as our culture's a little bit different. We don't want superstar players. We want people who just want to work hard. To me, it seemed like an indictment on Paul George because he is a superstar. To me, Jenna, it's like that old girlfriend and everything. Ain't no need to go back. Like, it ain't better. You remember it for what it was. Like, just keep it moving. Like, don't go back to old girlfriend. It's like, then she comes up with, I didn't want you anyway. Oh, I feel the same. Paul George should move on.
For like 5 seconds, I thought you were talking about my life. And then I was like, oh, wait, we're talking about Paul George.
Well, I mean, there's some analogous
situations. Something in your wheelhouse. But what you do with it, Jenna, I don't know. I put it by the rim. You can either tap it in or you can dunk it.
I came at you with some sauce and I put it down.
What do you like more for Paul George? L.A. or Philly? L.A. assuming they get another guy. Not just him. L.A. or Philly?
I just think the pool of going back home, back to your home state of California, is stronger on players than people realize. And I think the better basketball situation is in Philadelphia. I mean, you imagine Paul George being on that team last night. I don't care who Boston have. They can bring back Gordon Hayward. They can bring back Cedric Maxwell. Oh, I mean, they can bring back a bunch of people. Like, it wouldn't matter with Paul George because he gives them the perimeter defender at an elite level, gives them another knockdown shooter, and another ball handler.
Well, I think that leads us to this.
Absolutely. Here we go. Sixers season came to an end last night after losing to the Celtics in Game 5. A lot of questions surrounding the process. Did it work? Are Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons enough to carry this team further next year? Does it need more processing? Here's Embiid with some thoughts on the matter.
The process, I've said this before, the process is never going to end. It's a process to get to the playoffs. We did it. It's another one to get to the, I wouldn't say the semifinals, but the conference finals. We didn't do it, so next year, that's definitely our goal.
All right, obviously a lot to be addressed this offseason.
Embiid's being a little disingenuous there. He says, our goal was not to get to the conference semifinals. His goal was to get to the conference finals. That's not what they were talking about. That's not what they were acting like. They starting with the way they ended the season after they got that 30-point lead on Cleveland, their goal was the NBA Finals. And they were being discussed as they were the Vegas favorite at one point this postseason to make the NBA Finals. So he's now resetting where their actual goal was by the end of the season. But I just want to add that. But go ahead, Jim.
When we talked about this earlier in the show, CC, you mentioned we talked about what do the 76ers need? And, well, they need Ben Simmons to shoot from outside of 5 feet, and they need Joel Embiid to have a little bit more of an aggressive role. And then you casually mentioned that maybe they can get a veteran in. But I think that's in real discussions here because every time one of these, a Paul George or even a LeBron James name comes up, Philadelphia is, we talk about the Sixers as a possible landing spot. Do they need a superstar to actually compete for a championship with the team they have constructed now?
I don't know if they necessarily need a superstar, but they need a couple different players, all right? It's hard when you have a lineup that has Bellinelli, J.J. Redick, and T.J. McConnell in the lineup. The reason why, because Brad Stevens, what he did was he posted up all 3 of these players. All three of these players undersized. All of them are good shooters, but they're undersized, and none of them are athletic enough to be able to compete with the most athletic teams in the NBA. So you might talk about it being a superstar player. They need a wing player that has some size and can shoot. It would help this team out better, but more importantly, what they need is they need Markelle Fultz to take over the point guard spot for them. I believe that will give them the type of balance, because he is a great athlete who can push the ball. He's 6'4". You can't post him up. He's not a detriment on the defensive end. So, yes, getting another player, I'm not going to hang on just it's got to be a superstar, but it can't be players that are one-dimensional like Bellinelli and J.J. Redick are right now.
I am going to hang on it being a superstar for this reason. This is the only summer they can do it. People need to understand this. Because Joel Embiid's contract extension is kicking in, and because they are going to give Ben Simmons the max, and because they drafted Markelle Fultz at #1 overall and the salary that goes along with that, and because of the contract they gave Robert Covington, the only way they can sign a free agent, not trade for one, or sign a superstar, not trade for one, not give up one of these big pieces, is this summer. If they do not sign a star player this summer, they will not be able to over the next 5 years. Doesn't matter what the cap grows to, this is their window of opportunity right now. And so that's why you hear LeBron attached to them. That's why you hear Paul George attached to them. That's why, even though they'd have to trade for him, you hear Kawhi Leonard attached to them. Because they couldn't wait out Kawhi's contract. They couldn't say, oh, Kawhi, we hear he really wants to come here. We'll wait a year till he's a free agent. They wouldn't. In a year from now, they can't do it. And if you believe in Boston, the way I know you do, Jenna, the way I believe you do, Chris, about that they'll be better with Kyrie, they'll be better with Gordon Hayward, obviously they'll be better as Tatum and Brown get a year older, they need to do more. So to compete for a championship, that's not even talking about those monsters out west.
Right.
And so, yes, absolutely, 100%, they need to add someone.
So I understand everything you're saying. I understand where that window is. But do we even have this conversation, CC, had this team made it to the Eastern Conference Finals? Do we look at this team and say, you know what they need is another piece? They need one superstar and they're a complete team.
Yeah, if you're being honest, if their overall lack of athleticism, the lack of shooters at certain positions, and to me, I don't believe Ben Simmons is a point guard. He doesn't have the judgment to be a point guard. He definitely can't shoot good enough to be a point guard. Nick talks about where he has a passing advantage. Yeah, he has a slight passing advantage, but he doesn't take care of the basketball. He doesn't have the mindset, how to run a team, how to set people up. He's very, very limited at playing the point guard. He didn't play point guard at LSU. So now trying to force that on him, I believe he's playing out of position.
Well, here's the thing, though, because you and I are diametrically opposed on this specific point. I think Ben Simmons has to be your point guard, and I think he can be a transcendent point guard. But if shooting,
where's Fultz going to play?
I think you can play them both in the backcourt at the same time. Fultz can be your scoring two, and then on the defensive end, Fultz can guard the opposing point guard, and Simmons can guard a wing. But if shooting's your concern, unless you're going to play him at center, what position
I'm not playing him at a position. I'm playing him because he's an athlete. It's not about he's a 2, he's a 3, he's a 4. That part is not important.
But with your dire concern about his shooting, which is legitimate, the position outside of center, whether it's 2, 3, 4, whether you're saying positionless, that you can get away with being a deficit as a shooter more than any of the others. You can't be a deficit as a shooter as a wing. Like
I just think you're getting too caught up with the point guard position. All right, he's a good athlete. We're going to have on the floor. He's going to handle the ball some, but he is not a traditional point guard. He does not have the skill set. He can't run an offense, and it's important, Nick, he can't shoot.
I understand, but the important him not being able to shoot is no matter the position he's playing, that matters. I would argue it matters more in the positions you're talking about. But I disagree with you on if he can run an offense. But to Jenna's question, would we be talking about this had they won this round? Listen, Philly is trying, the process is about trying to win a championship. And this team is presently constituted, unless the Warriors break up, unless Chris Paul gets old quick, are not ready to compete with the Warriors and the Rockets. Now, if they're saying we're going to take the super long view, we're going to wait those guys out, we're worried about 2021 and 2022, that's fine. But they could go be the league favorites to win the title if they sign LeBron. They could be one of the top favorites if they get Kawhi or Paul George. This is the summer to do it. I absolutely would go all in on that, 100%.
You know what? Normally on this show, we sort of frown upon people just walking onto the set in the middle of a song, unless you're C.J. McCollum.
Unless you're a real damn guard. If you're a real guard in the NBA, step forward.
Oh, we
basketball player.
Oh, can you shoot outside 3 feet? Oh, we got one. Can you run an offense? Oh, we got one. And he just happened to be from OHIO.
We are back after this.
What's up, baby? I got a problem with you, man. Now you're on TV everywhere. I give you your first trip.
June 13th.
Oh, there's a mouse in here.
The clock starts ticking.
I've got 24 hours to turn this business around.
These restaurants are on the brink.
Don't say I gave up! Your kitchen's a war zone.
Ken Gordon's